Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Far North Football Podcast. I'm your host, Høgne Losson Poulsen, and this is part 3. And in today's episode, we will be talking about rivalries in Faroese football. And we will be talking a little bit about player sales and how they work, if there's any future percentage included in the transfers. And then we will also be talking a little bit about KÍ or KÍ youth players and what's going on there. So first we'll start about rivalries. So here in the Faroese League there are a few rivalries, but we don't have these big rivalries you see like on TV, Manchester United versus Liverpool, Barcelona versus Real Madrid. There aren't big like rivalries in that sense, but we do have rivalries here just on a smaller scale. I'll talk about a few of them, and the first one, rivalry that has been pretty exciting to watch these recent years are NSI or NSI versus B38 or B36. This rivalry has been really exciting the past few years because of mainly because of the games and the importance of the games. They are neighbors. It's a local rivalry. There's not a lot of distance between the stadiums. I don't know exactly, but I think it's under a kilometer, just over the hill actually. And in the past seasons, this rivalry has been really exciting, especially because of one game that happened in 2022. That game was played in Villøgen, NSU's home ground, and the game was actually about the survival of NSU. NSU had to win this game to survive, and it's really fun to think about, or weird to think about, that NSU were playing for relegation, because now this season, as you guys know, they were competing for the title versus KÍ, and they have really stepped up their game. But it was a kind of weird season for NSU. Everyone was always thinking, okay, it's a bad season, but they will rebound. And then after half of the season went by, people were like, okay, maybe they will miss out on European places this season, but people still thought they would bounce back. But that never really happened. And on the second to last game in the game week, they had to play against B68. They needed a win. NSU managed to score first. It was Jørgen Nilsen who scored the first goal. Since then, Jørgen has actually played with B68 and then also transferred recently to Wichinger. But yeah, he scored the first goal, bringing them up 1-0. And then B68 scored twice in 8 minutes, bringing them in front. And then right after halftime, they scored to 3-1, and the game finished 3-2 with a goal from NSU in the 92nd minute. That was too late. And I think this game really sparkled the rivalry, like set fire to the rivalry again. And this is actually one of the bigger rivalries that they actually do something about. The fans get excited, and they bring a lot of energy to this game since then, because the B68 were singing and shouting like fun stuff at NSU, tell them to say hi to the other teams from from the lower division and stuff like that. And the fun thing is actually, if anybody was going to were thinking about a team getting relegated, it was B68, not NSOE. And then actually last season they had a similar kind of game, but this time it was a game that B68 were fighting for relegation, and NSOE was upset to this game. They really wanted to get their revenge. The fans wanted to get revenge, and they had actually bought a ton of fireworks for this game. It's a fun story to get their revenge, sending B68 down. But B68 managed to pull out a shock victory, sending themselves in front 2-0 before 30 minutes were gone, and the game finished 4-1. And this again made this rivalry more exciting, because NSOE didn't manage to get their revenge this time, and B68 were rubbing it in their faces that they spent a lot of money on fireworks, which they couldn't use. And in this season, I think you could say that that NSOE got revenge, not by sending them down, because B68 weren't relegated, but this season NSOE won the game against B68 11-0. Yes, you heard me right, and some of you guys have probably seen it, the game, or maybe highlights from the game. But it started out with an early red card in the 11th minute, a stupid red card on the middle of the field. And yeah, the game finished 11-0. They also got a red card in the 54th minute, but it was already 5-0 by then, so 11-0. So that was their revenge. Going to another rivalry, this is called Klaksvík, or the Classic. It is probably the most well-known rivalry in the Faroe Islands. It is my rivalry because it includes my team, and I love getting the better out of HB. It's KÍ and HB. KÍ have been the better team in the recent years, but HB have historically won a lot of games, and it's been up and down for both teams, having their periods. But luckily for me, these recent years have been great for us. But one thing that HB still have been really good is in the cup games. Not this year, because this year we actually managed to win while being a man down. But in many prior years, we have been drawn against HB, and they have knocked us out of the cup. So it was great getting the better of them this time. This rivalry is, I don't know, historically it might have been bigger. Like, I've heard stories about people waiting after the game to fight, actually, and also because they have been angry with the ref, waiting for the referee after the game to jump him and stuff like that. But I'm happy that doesn't happen anymore. I think they should be allowed to have passion in football, but we don't want to attack each other. So this game is a lot of bragging rights. It's the north versus the capital, or the second biggest town or city in the Faroe Islands versus the largest. So it's about bragging rights, but also if you're not from Klaksvík, you probably don't like KÍ, especially recently because of our success. So it's, yeah, but it's a historic rivalry, but this isn't the same way as B68 and NSOE, as I talked about earlier. There isn't a lot of action from the fans, even though we try from the KÍ fan point always to have some energy. But that doesn't matter if it's HB and or if it's Nusha Vester. It's always the same, but maybe there's a little bit more when it's against HB, especially if it's a close game. Then also NSOE we have a lot of local rivalries, I guess, and one rivalry that kind of is, but I don't really think there's a lot to it. But it's NSUI and Scala. Scala got promoted this season, but that is mainly because they are in the same council, or what it's called. It's like the same, council. And HB have also the local rivalry, and they're actually neighbors. They play at the same ground. They have their own stand. The B68, no, not B68, I mean B36 now, versus HB. Both play in Gundadalur in Tórshavn, and this is also a rivalry which I think actually, when it comes to the fan point of view, it's kind of sort of bigger than KÍ versus HB, because it's between the people from Tórshavn, and I think there's more people showing up to that game when they two play, because of maybe you have some friends that support the different team, and it's fun to poke fun at them if the game falls in your favor. And and they also have this competition called Havnamostar, just meaning the champions of the capital of Tórshavn, and that the winner of that is the team that has most points between them at the end of the season. And some people take that serious, but and like the rivalry between NSUI and B68 that I talked about, rivalries and titles really set fire to rivalries. Can also kill them if a certain team is relegated. But this rivalry that I'm going to tell you now is one that is more a competitive rivalry, not so much local or historic. It's more recent, but it's because of because of competition, but both cups, but also the league, and it's KÍ and Viking and KÍ. It's been more of a like recent rivalry, maybe the past 10 years. It started, I would say, in 2016, the year KÍ won the cup for the first time since 1999, in the final against Vikingur. In the same season, KÍ were close on winning the title, and also were the favorite when there was like only 5 games to go, but Vikingur managed to steal the title and win it. And they won it also the year after that. So it's been like that, and also the recent years. Last season, Vikingur won the title away from KÍ again. So it's been between those two teams recently. Also in the cups in 2022, we played in the final, which we lost against them. And this year, when we won the double, it was also against them. So the past 3 cup finals we played in have been against Vikingur, and also they have been one of our main competitors when it comes to the league. So that is a rivalry that is fueled by competition, and it's an exciting rivalry, especially when the teams are close in the league. This season, they weren't so close, so the league games weren't much to brag about when it comes to excitement from the fan point of view, and also the games. But they managed to get a draw in the league against us twice, if I remember correctly. And also the cup final was against them, and that was a big game. It was 2 fan groups shouting at each other, 2 teams hungry to win a trophy, fighting with all they could. Obviously, KÍ were the favorites and were the better team, but Vikingur didn't back down, and they tried their hardest. So that is a more recent rivalry fueled by competition. And yeah, as I said, relegation and promotion sets fire to rivalries. I could say somehow, luckily or unluckily, for these 2 teams, this rivalry is still alive, because both teams actually got relegated, and they were also rivals last season in the first division and this season in the best division. Those two teams are both of the teams from Suðuroy, the most southern island. It is Tepe versus FC Suðuroy, and this rivalry has probably been the most fun rivalry to watch this season. As a neutral, because the games have been a bit hectic and with a lot of energy, and those games you see maybe some tackles that are a little bit more ugly, not ugly tackles, but a little bit harder, and also the fans they shout when a player makes a tackle or a clearance, and yeah, it was enjoyable to watch. But sadly, both teams have been relegated. But for the rivalry, it's I think the teams are pleased that the rivalry is still alive. But as it was last season, I don't think the rivalry was that big when they were in the first division. But both got promoted together and relegated together. So maybe that will fuel the rivalry in the second division next season. And hopefully at least one of them will get promoted again, because I really like the teams from there. And this rivalry was a joy to watch. So hopefully they will make it available to watch for us neutrals, because they don't normally stream first division games, but I know that FC Suðuroy have usually streamed their home games. So I'm excited to follow and see how they will do in the first division. So yeah, I think that was all about the rivalries. But I think just worth noting is that rivalries can change really quickly depending on competition. If there's two teams that are going head to head, like KÍ and NSU this season, there felt like there was a real rivalry between those teams, even though it's not historically, not even in the past 10 years. This season was probably a rivalry between those two teams, where fans were excited. Many people showed up to games, and especially after the 9th round, when both teams were due to play each other, and both teams had still only won. They haven't lost a single game or drew a single game, and that's the first time in the history of this competition. And that game, KÍ won. Then we'll go over to player sales. I got a question about this on X after posting my last episode, and it was also about player sales and the percentage, and if they're meaningful for a team from the Faroe Islands. And of course, when selling a player in the Faroe Islands, if you manage to get a sell-on percentage, it could be massive, because right now there's a young Faroese player called HB Samuelsen that is being looked at by the Swedish champions, Melby, and if they buy him from his contract and HB get a percentage, maybe 10 or 15% from that transfer, it would mean a lot for them. But the only thing is that I don't really know. It's really hard. I've tried. It's really hard to figure out if there are sell-on percentages. I know some teams have had in the past, but I tried to dig it up, and most of the time, players, as I talked also about in the last episode, players, when they transfer, they often transfer at the end of the contract. So if there's a sell-on percentage, it would be mostly a percentage you get from producing the player from your academy, and that's smaller percentages. I think we're down to the 2%, 3%. So a bit of money they do get, but I'm really sorry. I tried to dig around and find out, but it's hard to find numbers about transfers from the Faroe Islands, because they're not really public with numbers at all. But I know some teams include transfer percentages, and obviously that helps a lot. I know Wuchinger, the transfers they have done recently to Denmark and to Grimsby as well, I'm pretty sure that those transfer include a transfer fee percentage on future sales, but I'm not sure what the percentage is. Also, the same person asked me about the financial model for top clubs in the Faroe Islands, if they're about making it to Europe or player sales. If I speak for my team, KÍ especially, it will definitely be about making it to Europe. That's our main objective, and I think the other teams around us also follow suit. Maybe they're a little bit better producing players from their academy, and especially giving those players the chances, which we will be talking about it in a bit. But I think if you're in the European places in the Faroe Islands, for you, probably the financial decision that would be the smartest would be to try and go for Europe, because that's where the money is. Obviously, if you can produce a local player and sell them, that's also money. But the European competitions gives a lot of money, and I would say it's a kind of easier way to get money in the short run, because if you want to make money from players, you need to produce a decent player, a good player for the Faroese division standard each year, and a decent player at least for foreign leagues in Scandinavia or higher up. If you don't do that, then there's no money, because most of the time transfers in between teams in the Faroe Islands, there's no money included or transfer fee. So making money on players is a bit more risky, and I think that comes with the time. If you see a player is good and has potential to reach highs, you probably give him a bigger contract or a longer contract, so he doesn't leave for free, and then try to get a bit of money out of him when he decides to leave one time. And I would say most of the teams in the Faroe Islands wouldn't stand in the way of a young Faroese player going abroad. So maybe the transfer fee would be cheaper than it probably should be. But yeah, Europe, that's where the money is. If you want money, just qualifying for the first round of the Conference League is a lot of money for a Faroese team. It could mean the whole like next season, decide the whole next season. What do we do? Do we go out and sign players, or do we need to stick to more of local and cheaper players? You could also see that for KÍ this season. It was really risky if we didn't win the league this year, because we have the highest wage bill in the league. We would probably been fucked. I'm sorry to say that, but it's true, because missing out of the league and missing out of Champions League was almost scandalous. It's not good for us, and thankfully we did recover and won the league this time, but it wouldn't have been good if we didn't win it this year. And it wasn't good. We couldn't spend as much money this season as we could have if we won the league, for example. But I was talking about youth players and selling players. I want to talk a little bit about KÍ's model. I am a youth coach, or I haven't signed a contract for 26 yet, but in 2025 I was a youth coach for under 15s and under 21s, which I enjoyed really much, and I hope to get the chance to continue. But I'm still waiting to hear from the academy coach. But anyways, the youth players from KÍ, the two players I want to talk especially about is David Andreasen, the brother of our captain, and Johan Josefsen. He was on loan to B38 this season. Both of them had contract for the upcoming season, but they have gotten so few minutes this past seasons actually, and now they want to try something new, and I think that's a shame, because I think KÍ especially, they get a lot of stake out of it, not using local players, just using players from different cities around in Faroe Islands and foreign players. But I would have preferred if they try to do a little bit more with their academy players, because a player like David, who single-handedly saved us twice in the cup this season. He managed to get us actually to the cup final. He assisted in the game against HB in Tórshavn, where we were a man down, assisted in the last minute a goal for Páll that put us through in the cup. And then also he managed to score in the last seconds, not just last minute, in the last seconds of the game against B68. Again, I'm sorry, B36, not 68. Where we were losing, but he scored and put it into extra time and then penalties, and we won the penalty, putting us into the semifinals, where we got an easy draw against a team called AB from the first division. They got promoted this year, which we won quite comfortably, and then got into the final. And he decided the last few games of the season, he decided to step down from the first team and focus on the second team to get as many minutes as possible, because the biggest problem with KI and actually Faroese football, I think it's stupid, but the second team always play before the first team, which makes no sense in my head. Obviously, I think the second team should play after the first team, and I think that's something FSF need to look into, because I think it's hindering the development of young players. As you can see, a player like David and Johan, if they don't get minutes on the first team, they don't get minutes at all, because they don't want risking playing them in the game before and getting injured, and then not be able to sit on the bench and come in at a later stage for the first team. So that's a big problem. And Johan has shown also with the under 21s national team that he is a good striker. He's a box striker. He's like a target man kind of. He's not the best technically, but he's definitely a player for the future, which I think is a shame that KÍ are open to let go. David has already gotten a new club, which is a shame. He has gone to B68. Oh, again, B36, I mean. I keep doing that. And Johan is looking for options. There's nothing official yet, but it makes me sad, because there's two young players that should definitely have got more minutes in the league. Especially against lower teams, or maybe in the second half when we were winning a game comfortably, which the coach had many chances to do this season and he decided not to do. So I think this is a fault both from the coach but also from the board of KI, because you could set more expectations to the coach to play younger players, or at least give them the chance. I'm not saying that you have to play if you're not good enough, but as I told you earlier, David really showed that he can put some value into the team, even saving us from 2 games. And there's a lot of supporter dissatisfaction about that, because obviously we want to see our local players be given a chance at least. Give them a few games, and not only 5 or 10 minutes. Give them 30 minutes or one half. And I think it's like that for all teams in the Faroe Islands, because we don't only want to do well on the European stages, but yeah, obviously that is our main goal, but we also want to produce Faroese players that can play on the bigger European levels, or even if they get good enough, go abroad and making money out of them, as we talked about earlier, including sell-on fees and stuff like that. So I think that is something that we really, really need to look into, the team especially. But that's about it, what I have for this episode. I would just say thank you again, guys, for listening. There's been way more people listening to this than I expected, and a lot of good support. It makes me really happy, and I'm really happy when you guys write what you want me to talk about, because I have my topics that I want to talk about, and I have planned out, but I would love to talk about things that you guys want to hear about, something you guys don't know about, or something you guys want to hear more about. And that's why I try to say after every episode, please let me know if there's something you guys want to talk about. For example, this episode was about something a listener asked about, and I would love to do that, because I try to to inform you guys about the league and the teams, and that's the main goal about this podcast. Also, next episode, I want to go a little bit more into details that have happened around the transfer market. Not so much because there's a lot of activity, but especially those players that are leaving, because there are a few players that have left to a certain team in Denmark in recent times, and it's fun because this specific team have bought a lot of players from the Faroe Islands recently, so that will be one of the topics I will be talking about next time. But if there's something else you guys want to hear about, then please let me know, and then I'll try to find something out and talk about that next time. So thank you guys really, really much for listening. And that's it for this episode of the Far North Football Podcast. So remember, if you enjoyed, make sure to follow or subscribe wherever you're listening, and feel free to share it with anyone that you think would like this kind of podcast. I will be back soon with another episode. Thanks for listening.